excited? James, not in summer league. He stood in solidarity with us and stayed home with us. Are you excited about tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone should be. This is a new era of NBA basketball. I mean, if it goes as planned, Victor Wembanyama is somebody who comes in and changes the game, and you're intrigued to see how he changes the game and what it means for the rest of the league, what it means for the future of the league. Because I think more than any other sport, the NBA changes. It's always morphing. It is so organic, and like again, Kenny's wearing a Joe Montana jersey, right?
Mhm.
Like the difference between the Joe Montana era and the modern era is that they throw the ball a whole lot more. But Joe Montana would still be good in this era, just like Mike Singletary would still be an incredible linebacker in the modern NFL, right? But that's not the way the NBA works. Like players from the 80s, players from the 90s, they may not fit at all in the current NBA.
Right.
And it's just, there's no Charles Oakley player. These are like very specific types of players that existed forever at the NBA level, but have been changed and morphed into something different. So I'm excited to see what his impact is, because I remember an era where, Dwight Howard was the best center in the NBA and he couldn't dribble the ball more than twice. And then DeMarcus Cousins comes along and starts running fast breaks, and it changed the game. It did. Like, then there was Anthony Davis and there was Karl Anthony Towns, and like the game keeps morphing and being and growing. And I think it's intriguing to me.
Do you who do you think has the bigger buzz going into summer league, the summer league Vegas opener? Zion when he came in, or Victor Wembanyama today?
I don't even think it's close. Like, I mean, Zion was always going to be a really good, intriguing player. That's not Victor. Everyone is expecting Wembanyama to be LeBron James. That's what people are expecting. So I think that the buzz level is higher. I don't remember Zion's people like slapping Britney Spears or anything, but this is one of those things where you're like looking at this thing play out, and you're like, this guy has an opportunity to revolutionize the game once again. And I just think he could bust. That's people don't talk about that, but he easily could bust. He could start having injuries right away. There could be all kinds of things that go wrong. But we're talking about a kid who measured in at 7'3" and a half without shoes on, who moves like Kevin Durant, but does all of these other things that we just haven't seen before. Just really amazing. And so I think the buzz is bigger this time.
So I'll push back just a little bit. And granted, Victor didn't get this opportunity, but this goes to what you're talking about, Dame, as far as like people kind of overlooking the Zion moment. The president went to go watch him play. That's how important Zion was at the time.
Mhm.
The president said, I'm going to go to Durham, North Carolina. This isn't like, oh, he's in my city and I'll get a press box and go watch. No, he went there to see Zion Williamson play.
I'm not sure if Macron went to go see him play. I got to be honest. In France, it's possible. But I also know that Obama was a huge basketball fan. And I don't think that Joe Biden is as to the level of basketball fan that that
Obama
Obama
might
was.
going to see Victor today.
Yeah. See, well, we
Went
don't
to
know
go
that.
see
We don't
him.
know that because they don't tell us
Yeah.
those things until the day of, and all of a sudden it's like, hey,
Oh,
we
I
need to clear out
guarantee
that
he's
section.
not, because there's no way the Cox Pavilion would be full yet if President Obama was coming in. You'd still be getting searched if you were on your way into that venue. So this was a discussion we were having earlier, James. I feel like, and we saw this a lot around the draft. Vic, LeBron. We haven't seen anything like this since LeBron James. And I think that's just revisionist history because of the way the last few years have gone for Zion Williamson. That draft was Zion, LeBron, Zion, LeBron, Zion, LeBron. That night at Summer League. Now, again, you're looking at it in hindsight. So many things happened that night with the Kawhi deal and the earthquake that it all kind of meshes together into this one like mythical night at Summer League where Zion Williamson made his debut. But Zion's debut was massive. And so I think we're adjusting a little bit based on his success so far. And because LeBron James is bulletproof, like he's the greatest, or certainly arguably the greatest player of all time, that we can, well, we don't want to bring up Zion because we might have been wrong about him. So we'll reference Vic with LeBron and set Victor up for his career path. Certainly the excitement is really, really high, but we've never seen anything like this before. No, we did like 4 years ago. And it was amazing. Like, it was awesome. We don't have to diminish that moment to hype up Victor Wembanyama. They don't happen very often, but Zion's was a huge moment.
No, I don't want to take away from what Zion's moment was, but Zion was never considered like the next LeBron, at least not in my book. I think when you're looking at, I mean, LeBron James is so special because ESPN started like televising his high school games. I mean, Brian Windhorst like made his chops right there. Covering LeBron James as a high school player in Akron. So yeah, for me, like, it was such a special moment because he lived up to every single bit of it and he kept living up to it. But there was also, like, when you watch LeBron, he basically had Karl Malone's body at age like 17, but with, incredible handles and all of these other skills that weren't around before. And we'd never seen a player like him. It's like when Shaq came into the league, we'd never seen a player like Shaq, that big, that strong, that athletic. I mean, there was never anyone before Shaq like him that was successful like that and like lived up to the hype as well. But I think with Zion, I mean, I thought he's a top tier. I'm going to put him in the same category as like when Anthony Davis was coming into the draft, surefire number one. Even Towns had that like surefire number one where he's going to be number one. I mean, Cousins didn't have that, but it was more about the outside stuff, and that's why he fell to number 5. But when it comes to Wembanyama, I mean, I think everybody has been watching some of these things. It's the one-footed three-pointer that he releases and lands like almost underneath the rim, and you're like, what in the world just happened? How did he just rebound his own three-point shot? And like, we're going to see that stuff at the NBA level. We're also going to see him get pushed around, and we're going to see people get physical with him. And we could see injuries. I mean, this is a kid who's never lifted a weight, right? He's never lifted a weight at all. They've held back on sort of that aspect, the weight training and everything else for him. We're going to have to see how he develops, but the Spurs are a franchise that when we watch their players historically, they know how to, number one, find talent, and number two, develop talent. We saw it at the California Classic. I mean, their players outside of the Sacramento Kings, the Spurs were like the ones that you were watching because they were so much more prepared and better. And look at all of the players that they keep finding, the Devin Vassell's of the world, the Champagny, like, you just keep finding them one after another. Malachi Branham, all of these players you're looking at, man, I surely wish I had that player. Well, we watched the Charlotte Hornets, their example of the worst of everything, where they're out there with Kai Jones, who doesn't know how to set a screen in his 3rd NBA season. He doesn't know how to set a screen. Like, everything he does is illegal. And you're like, how is somebody not fixing that small piece to his game? You're running out there with Book Night as your star, and he can't do anything in his 3rd summer league. He's the 11th pick in the draft, and he can't do anything. And so I think that's like, if I'm
it's official.
It's an
309. I saw a 311 earlier. I saw a 311
somebody was on there early. Like, they
were on top of it. They were on top of it. Pause. But yeah, hammer's frozen. You know the rules. Got to leave James there.
Well, James is frozen. I think he's got a. I think he's not accurate with what he feels about Zion. We ain't never seen nothing like Zion.
Oh, I agree.
Just the same way we say that about Wembanyama. We ain't never seen nothing like Zion.
It just hasn't panned
Zion
out
is
the way we
tractor trailer with a 50-inch vertical. We ain't never seen nothing like that, man.
I don't know why. When James said
a tractor trailer, by the way.
when James said everything he does is illegal. That is a tremendous way to describe a basketball player. Everything he does is illegal. I was just marveling over that line. James is, as Ham is deep.
He's back.
He's thawed out. He's defrosted. He's here with us. And they had
switch to the phone.
That was a 309 freeze. I saw a 311 real early in the show.
Somebody saw it lurking early.
Felt like it was happening, but I don't know. We was just laughing. I don't know why he said Kai Jones. Everything he does is illegal. Made me laugh so hard.
Like I'm watching, I'm like, oh, and my point that I was about to make was, if I'm Brandon Miller's people, I'm looking at that going, oh no, like how do I get my guy the support that he needs, because they have a proven track record of not developing talent at all. So, and again, like, just for reference, they brought Kai Jones to Summer League in his third NBA summer, and they didn't bring Mark Williams, who was drafted last year. I mean, it's just like they don't understand the development of players for some reason. And there are a lot of teams out there like that, but that's why the Spurs, you put Victor Wembanyama, and the first picture you see of him when he gets to San Antonio is David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Sean Elliott all putting their arms around him. That's what you get when you go to San Antonio. You might not get a big market. You get a franchise that knows how to develop a player and make him into a star.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I was trying to think about when's the last time they had a player like that. It was Kawhi.
Kawhi developed there.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Tim Duncan came in as a
red.
I mean,
of course not to this level, but and so did David Robinson.
Yeah, they were both the best.
Yeah, but Manu and Tony Parker, they fully developed. And then look at the players that they've done. Like, what is it? Who's their power forward? Johnson?
Not Keontae.
Kendon.
Kendon.
Yeah, what is it? We're missing it somewhere, but like he's developed well. Vassell's developed. Like they just know how to do it. They know how to like bring players along and support them the right way and create an atmosphere of winning. And it's not easy. It's not, because I've had Keldon. There we go. I've had more than one player tell me very specifically that like they don't want to talk about their time in the Spurs. They didn't have a good time. And so like it's very tough, but like, look, that's what the game is about. It, like, makes you into something special. And you go to one place and it's the right fit and everything's successful. And you go to another place, the same player might not ever reach the same exact height. And I mean, the Sacramento Kings are proof of that through my entire career, where it's one player after another. The players that were drafted during my time covering this team, the guys like Tyreke Evans and Jimmer Fredette and Thomas Robinson and Nick Stauskas and Ben McLemore and Willie Cauley-Stein, Yorgos Papagiannis, like Scalaby Sierra, Malachi Richardson. The list just goes on of players that never developed. Marvin Bagley, they never developed. And the one guy who figured out a way to fight through it is De'Aaron Fox. And you got to keep doing it. You got another guy in Keegan Murray that they have to develop. Like he has to become what they think he's going to be if this whole thing is going to work. And so you hope that they've turned the page on that, but you got to invest in development. You got to invest in your medical staff and your training staff. These are all big things that I think the Kings are doing a good job of right now.
So I'll ask you, James, where's the marker for you between development and just not drafting good players?
Yeah, it's tough because you never know. I mean, even going back to like a guy like Jimmer, I saw what they were trying to do there. What they're trying to do is recreate the Mike Bibby, Doug Christie backcourt with Tyreke Evans and Jimmer Fredette. There's nothing you can do when a guy gets there and he's just not good enough for the NBA. And, again, that's not a slight on Jimmer. Jimmer needed the ball in his hands at all times. He was never going to get it. Isaiah Thomas went in there and just took it. Like I'm not waiting for someone to tell me I need the ball in my hand. I'm just going to go take it. And that was a difference. And, the Kings did draft busts. Like Thomas Robinson is a huge bust, huge. And where they take him at number 5 in the next pick is Damian Lillard. That was their fault. That's just a bad move. And there were some reasons for it. They didn't have any money, and they didn't know if they were going to be able to re-sign Jason Thompson, and they had no power forward on the roster. So they had also just drafted Jimmer and Isaiah the year before. So you already had point guards. But like, how different is the Kings franchise if you have Damian Lillard and DeMarcus Cousins and Rudy Gay as like your big 3 to build around forever, with Isaiah Thomas off the bench? And, so like there's just misses for sure. But then other players that like you never should have drafted. And like Yorgos Papagiannis never should have been drafted. And the Kings had the 9th pick in that draft. They traded it for 13, 28, and the rights to Bogdan Bogdanovic. They drafted Scala Bissiere, and Bogdan ended up being the best player, of the lot, because Marquise Chris went number 9. But I think number 10 or number 11 in that draft is Domantas Sabonis. Like you could have had better things. Even like go to the 2017 NBA draft where they take the 10th pick and they trade it for 15 and 20. Not only do they botch both 15 and 20, where John Collins, Kyle Kuzma, like a bunch of guys. But if you stayed at number 10, Donovan Mitchell and Bam Adebayo went before number 15. And you could have had either one of those, especially if you could have drafted Bam to go with De'Aaron Fox, both Kentucky kids. They know each other. They're friends. You could have had something way quicker here in Sacramento, but you make mistakes.
Did DeMarcus develop, or was he just supremely talented?
Supremely talented.
Yeah, I always thought that too. Like, I never thought he developed here. I just thought he figured out more of his physical tools. And maybe that's not fair. Maybe that's nitpicking the organization a little bit too much. But I always thought that's like DeMarcus got better because DeMarcus figured out how good he is.
I think that happens 7 times out of 10. Like, if the guy's good, he's good. If he's not.
But I don't think every player can figure out that they're that good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
DeMarcus was really, really good. Like, he was really, really good.
Well, and I'll even tell you this.
Good, but sometimes they can't put that puzzle together. Sorry, James.
Yeah, I'll even say this. Like, you have to remember that Jimmer played against Kawhi Leonard multiple times in college and tore him to shreds. Jimmer dominated him. And Kawhi was a guy defending him. Like, we got the guy. We'll send Kawhi at him. So, like, they went to who was Kawhi's coach at that time? Was it Steve Fisher?
Steve Fisher, yeah.
With all of his ties to Sacramento, like, they had that intel. They knew what he did against. Like, they did their due diligence. They weren't just caught up in Jimmer mania. This was a kid who did all kinds of stuff. But like, I think it's not just its development, but it's stability, it's support, and that's something again that Sacramento didn't have all through that era, where the San Antonio Spurs have had the same coach since 1999, 1998. Like, that matters. Like, having a system in place where you can. Even like I'll bring up Harry Giles. Like, Harry Giles like spends an entire year working with the training staff, getting his knees ready to go play, and then they let go of the training staff right before he gets into like his seasons, and you're like, okay, you took his support away. Those were the people who he was relying on, and now you got new people who are trying to tell him something different about a very fragile situation with his knees. It needed to be handled the right way. People weren't overseeing him the way that they should have, and he hadn't bought in the way that he should have, and there was mistakes that were made. But these are the things that actually mattered. And it's not just a head coach, it's not just a general manager. It's all of these things. It is the training staff, it's the medical staff, it's the people who take care of these people all day long that you guys don't see, that we don't see hardly at all. Those people matter as well.
This might be a weird what if. Tyrese just signed a up to $260 million extension yesterday. Would that have happened if the trade hadn't happened?
Man. If the trade hadn't happened,
like 2 max players here,
then yeah, it would have happened.
It would have.
Yeah,
it would have happened here in Sacramento.
Because if it hadn't happened, you'd feel like you had something here, and you probably would have been looking to move De'Aaron. Like, but if you hadn't traded Tyrese by then, you were committed to Tyrese.
Okay.
So I think it would have happened.
I just don't know if he would have had the buzz and would have had the capital to get a full max extension like that.
I think he would have, but he really did have he really had a great season last year.
He went to
and I don't think he got that extension off of that season. Like when they traded Domantas Sabonis for him, they traded him knowing he's going to be eligible for a massive rookie extension, and we are absolutely signing him to it.
Yeah.
But I just was thinking about the draft picks and like, oh, the Kings have been really good with their draft picks. One of them just signed a $260 million extension. The Kings, meaning Monty McNair's Kings.
And I do think that some couple things will be going on. If he's still here, I think that means they're probably committing to him. So they're giving him that contract. And if they're good, nobody's thinking twice about it.
Yeah.
If they're not good, I think they'll probably be looking to move Fox.
I'd also flip the question around. If Sabonis doesn't get traded to Sacramento, does he get the extension? And I think the answer is no.
See, I would say yes on Tyrese and no on Domas.
And I think Domas fully deserved everything he got. I'm just saying, if the roles were reversed, I think no.
But the nature of that extension that he got, though, with it being early, there's trade discussions for Domas all this offseason and into the trade deadline. And if he's not moved by Indiana, he's just going into free agency. That's ultimately what I think happens from the other side of the spectrum.
Alex the Great, this was something I was trying to figure out. He says not that much because he made an all-star team in Indiana. Was that one of the kickers for why it was that high? Because they all made Anthony Edwards made an all-star team, LaMelo did too, and Tyrese. And that up the max. Is that right, James?
Yeah, but it's not stuck at that position. He has to do it again. So you're right. Making an all-star team actually does mean a lot to him. And I don't know that he would have made an all-star team here.
All-star teams up dollar figures?
See, I wasn't sure. I
thought all NBA teams up dollar figures.
All NBA teams do, or back-to-back all-stars, I believe.
Okay.
I might be off there. I can't remember. I'd have to go in and look.
I figured there was some type of kicker there that allowed just those guys to get that type.
Yeah, because all three of them got it, right?
Yeah.
The 260 up to 260.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's more like it's 207 and up to 260. Just
right. Yeah, for sure.
And the same thing with De'Aaron Fox. It was at 163 with the potential to go to 200 million. They just didn't talk to it that way because they didn't assume that he was going to go get that money. Plus, let's be honest here. Okay, so the new NBA rules that have gone into place are teams are not allowed to negotiate, are not allowed to put stuff out before the moratorium. That's why we keep seeing player agents' names mentioned in every single one of these tweets about who it is that you got your information from, right?
Isn't that the only reason why?
Well, yes, I agree. I agree with you there, but I'm also going to add the other element to it that when an agent says it's 260, it's these guys are saying, okay, well, what's the minimum number? And it's like, oh, well, I mean, who knows what the minimum number is, but the number that we're going to put out there is 260 because that looks better for them that their client got the 260.
It's the NFL Schefter model. That's what they've been doing forever.
Yeah.
I remember that dude tweeted Amari Cooper signed $100 million deal. No, he didn't. He signed a series of $10 million deals in which he was eligible to be cut after the second one. And guess what? He was cut after the third one.
Yeah.
And
it's
also,
$100 million. Get out of here.
Let's not forget Tyrese gets, what we say, up to 260,
I think.
260 in Indiana. If he was with the Kings, he'd get up to $26.
That's about what it is.
That's what it would be.
Yeah.
Here with the Kings, with the state income
14.6% state income tax. He would lose what's the exact number? 11% more of his money. We had James. I told you, James, when you got here. It's been a weird day, man. It's been a weird day. We started the show. For some reason, you had this weird breakdown,
and then it reminded me.
That's what it was. We started the show with Tyrese, press conferences, how much money gets taxed, and then somehow we wound up on state income tax. It was a little off, James. Whole day's been a little off. We broke down Britney Spears' catalog, her music catalog. James is not here for our foolishness. This is the adult hour. Pause with James here. We'll come back. The King. So we're talking about Victor Wembanyama. We're talking about Spurs and Brandon Miller and Hornets. All that. Kings play tonight. Keegan Murray does not, but the Sacramento Kings do. Let's step out. Let's come back. We'll talk with James about who to watch for tonight. James, I'm curious to get your opinion on Neemias Queta as well, and what you expect from him here over the course of the next week and some change here in Las Vegas. So we'll do that. We'll talk Kings basketball. We'll talk Summer League basketball with our 1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham, when we return here on D-Lo and KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Clear.
And people really are turning on Dame Lillard. It's not, to me, it's not that big of a deal. But the NBA.
Oh, I don't know, man. You hold somebody hostage for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden you want to write your ticket wherever you want to write your ticket. I mean, I get it. You were loyal to them for a long time, but now you're not. And
So-
like, I don't know why they need to be super loyal to you on the way out the door if that's not what you're going to do.
So here's what I'll say. I'll go back to is what do, and I actually don't have a problem with this either, but DeMar DeRozan, Tyrese Haliburton. Oh yeah, it was an introduction to me that this is a business. You know, there is no loyalty in this game. It's a business. But now when Dame treats it like a business, he's losing goodwill. Dame has just flipped the script on the franchise. That's all he's done. If Dame wasn't performing and they had to get off of that contract, they wouldn't be worried about, let's do right by Dame. Let's get him the hell out of here. Ship him out of here and get his money off the books.
But there's a difference between saying, I want to go. Can you trade me to a contender? And I want to go. Will you trade me to one specific team who doesn't have the assets to help you? And that's what it comes down to. It's not that, like, Miami would be a great situation for Dame. Miami's not a great situation for Portland to trade with. And so that's really not all that fair. Like, it's like they need to get value for him. And Miami can't offer the value that is like competitive for him. Well, they can, but they won't. Like, Miami wants him. And we're talking value for value. I wouldn't do this, but I'm telling you, it comes back to the same thing we talked about before. Like, if the Kings were calling last season on Pascal Siakam or on OG Anunoby, the first question Toronto is going to say is, hey, how about the Keegan Murray kid? And the Kings would go click. Well, if Miami is calling on Dame Lillard, the first response that Portland should have is, okay, we really like Bam Adebayo. We think it's equal talent.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? And they're saying, no, how about we stick you with like some dudes that you don't really want? And that's where it's like, you have to, like, I think in this situation, be respectful. If they're going to be respectful and trade you to a title contender, he needs to be respectful, because I mean, they could trade him anywhere. He doesn't have a no trade clause. So, like, would he not show up? Sure. But then he'd start forfeiting all of his money. You know, like, you don't want to show up. That's fine. You just don't get your money. So I don't know. Like, there are guaranteed contracts, but those guarantees stop the second you don't show up when you're traded within I think it's a 72-hour window.
He's a rich man, and nobody would let that go on for the rest of his career. So, like I said yesterday, I agree with you. Like, he shouldn't have done it that way, because it messes everything up now. So the way he did it, as far as like saying, I only want to go to Miami, that just messes up everything. But him saying he wants out, he ain't no bad guy for one. Now he ain't mess up nothing, because I'm sure Toronto didn't say, hey, we've got this good deal with where'd he go? San Antonio, DeMar. You know, but if you don't want to go, we won't do it with San Antonio. No, they shipped his ass to San Antonio.
Oh, no, they did.
So now Dame got a little juice, and he's like, all right, I don't want to go to OKC. I want to go to Miami.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, again, there's a difference between listing the title contenders you want to go to and saying it's one team. That would be my problem.
That's bad negotiating on his part.
And we're not on the air, right? I'd also I would point to, there was the odd situation of Dame Lillard's agent walking around with very specific media members at the California Classic. They could have been looked at and been like,
represented by Brandon Williams.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It all falls back to Brandon Williams. It all falls back. Brandon Williams torpedoed the Portland Trailblazers.
There's an apple that doesn't fall that far from the tree, and I mean, we're not talking that far off here in this discussion here. And I'm not we can get to that after the show.
Brandon, what's Brandon doing today?
I don't know what Brandon.
He was doing NBA TV a couple of years ago.
Are we still in commercial?
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is a long break. I guess it's not. I guess it was like 4.5, 5 minutes.
You got up, you left, you came back.
Yeah, maybe that's why it felt long. Yeah. Okay, we're coming back, James. It's funny, man. No one's gonna see. I think you get 3, 4, 5 people together. You get 2 people together. You're gonna get differing opinions on the Dame Lillard situation. I don't know why this one feels so different than. I mean, we've all experienced this a dozen times, more than a dozen times. This one feels different for some reason, and I don't know why.
Because garnering said all that stuff before.
Is that why?
I'm never gonna lead 10 toes down. Yada yada yada.
Is that really why?
I think so.
Did he make a rap about it? Where he also dissed Marvin Bagley in the same rap?
He bodied him.
He might have. Hey, Marvin did a fine job.
Marvin did really good.
Marvin did a fine.
He did.
Yeah.
Careful. Stay in your weight class. But he did a fine job. I actually thought his album was fine. It was fine.
He's a cool rapper.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's got talent.
Dame's really good.
No,
Dame is really good.
Yeah.
Dame is a rapper for real.
Yeah, it was just we were talking about Dame. Casey, I stumbled across some things during the commercial break, and Dame's name came up, and it's just everybody kind of has a different opinion on him, and it's really fascinating because normally it's one side or the other, but with Dame, and I think this is what I do with Dame, I straddle the fence a little bit as to whose side I'm truly on with this. I'm always rooting for the player to get what they want, but I also understand Portland's in this really tough spot given the amount of years left on his deal, and that he doesn't have a list of teams. He has one. And that just makes things really difficult for Portland. But I also understand, Dame's point of view. It's
Dame and Aaron Goodwin, in my opinion, should not have made it public. They only want to go to Miami. They should have kept that between them and the Blazers.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of mishaps on the way. Podcast appearances would be at the top of my list.
That too.
Yeah. Well, that, and I was telling Kenny during the break, one of the issues too is that there are trades that make sense for Portland with regards to the Miami Heat, but the Heat don't want to give up those players. So, is it fair that that when they call you ask for Bam Adebayo? Yeah, that's fair. That's not a trade that's outlandish. Miami's not doing that. So, okay, well, what are you going to do for me that makes sense for me? Because getting Tyler Hero and a bunch of cap filler contracts, what good is that going to do the Sacramento Kings? I mean, the Portland Trailblazers.
It's not going to do the Kings any good, just for the record.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, no, it probably is, because Portland's going to be bad for a long time.
Point. Yeah. Good
yeah.
Point.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying. If you're calling, I would like the deal, but we want Bam. It's well, we're not giving up Bam. We want to build around Bam and Jimmy Butler. It's okay, well, then our discussion's over because you don't have the things that I need. Or can you go trade the players that you want to give me and go get me the players, some things that make sense for this team? And they're going to have a tough time finding that partner. And we're already hearing that Brooklyn wants compensation to take Tyler Hero off their hands.
And one thing that I would also say, though, is everybody got to meet people in the middle. What song was that? Meet Me in the Middle. I can't remember. It was on Target, but
It was on a Target commercial.
It was a big time song.
Why don't
You just meet me in the middle?
That's a perfect end to today's show.
Middle.
That was a huge record.
That was a huge
and
song.
I just know it from the Target.
Oh,
the Target
baby.
ad.
Yeah, Reese used to like that song. He was a baby. He was like 3.
Yeah.
But the Heat,
don't act like you don't know the words.
The Heat, yeah, okay, I'm not giving you Bam, but I'll take Nurkic. Like, I'll take salary off of you. Like, they shouldn't also be like, we're taking everything and not giving up anything. Yeah, I'm not going to give you one of my players, but I'll take this terrible contract off your hands. Now, I don't know if they can do that financially, but I think that should be part of the negotiations as well.
No, I agree.
Why would I give a Bam if I'm trying to get Dame Lillard? Can't do that. But I'll take maybe a couple bad contracts off your hands.
And I'll even take it to the next level. Like, Dame is saying, I want to go to win a championship with the Miami Heat. We're going to go win a championship. Why does Portland have to give them a championship? Like, if you're not giving up enough, then like find another trade partner. That's the way it goes. If he doesn't have a no trade clause, I get it. He's been there forever. He's been part of it and all that stuff. But okay, like give the team an opportunity to get some sort of value for you. And getting draft picks from a Miami Heat team who will be playing for championships or at least playing for Eastern Conference, in the Eastern Conference Finals most of the next couple of years. Like, okay, like why are you going to give that? What value do those picks have in that transaction? It's not like you're trading with the Detroit Pistons and getting a top 5 pick. You're literally looking at a draft pick from them that they're just going to scoff at. Like, what good is a 27th pick in the draft in a trade for Damian Lillard? It doesn't help them in the same way. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to this thing. It's tough.
And if history is any indication, Dame's going to be traded tonight when Victor Wembanyama and Brandon Miller are playing. Right after an earthquake, right? Exactly. The sphere is going to explode. I think that's what's going to happen. The sphere is going to explode. It's going to cause an earthquake.
75 car pileup because somebody put a giant spear right next to the right next to the freeway. I'm not sure about that.
And then Dame will be traded.
Yeah.
Kings play tonight, assuming there's no earthquake and the sphere doesn't get loose. The Kings do play. I think it's the Hawks tonight, the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Mm-hmm. Obviously, no Keegan Murray. So, where's your attention now with this Sacramento Kings Summer League team, Hammer?
I think it's interesting because first of all, they still have a good team without Keegan. I need to see more from Keon Ellis. I need to see more from Kessler Edwards. I'd like to see Kessler show that he can step up, but at the same time, even if Kessler steps up, what you need from Kessler is very specific. He needs to play really good defense. He needs to be able to shoot the 3, and he needs to get out in transition. He doesn't need to create. He doesn't need to do all these things. So do you have the team around him that can actually do that? That's a big deal. I want to see Neemias Queta figure things out. I want to see Colby Jones develop more and just get a little bit more time and maybe a little bit more for Slauson as well. And then for some reason, I love Alex O'Connell. Like, can that guy play like 40 minutes and we just get to watch him do crazy things the whole time? Because he's super fun. And I watched him play, G League. And this is who he was last year in Summer League and the Cal Classic and stuff. He hits a 3. He jumps out of the gym. He's like a ball of energy. So I would like to see all those things. And then the Neemias Queta thing. I want to see it figured out. I want to see, how much he's able to impact the game. And I kind of have got to the point where I keep watching him play, and I know other people watch him play. And a lot of people are just looking at stats and saying, why isn't he dominating? Well, first of all, you had a dude go for 41 on your team and 29 and 41 in 2 games. So there wasn't a lot of shots. But I think if you're not seeing the quote unquote assist screens that he's setting for his teammates, if you're not watching the plus minus in the box and seeing how impactful he is on the game, is he making some mistakes? Yes. Did he foul too much in the first game? Yes. But look at what he does to help his teammates. And it's something that I think we've grown to appreciate with Domantas Sabonis It's not all about the assists. It's not the rebounds. It's not the points. It's all of those moments where he does something that helps his teammates succeed. And I think there's a lot of that going on with Nemi that people are flat out missing. So has he been perfect? No. I'm still very confused how at one point in the game, he had 10 points and 10 rebounds, and he ended up, I think he had 10 points and 11 rebounds. And then he ended up with 9 points and 9 rebounds for the game. I don't know how that happened because I was watching it the whole time, and I tweeted out that he had a double-double.
California tax.
He fully got California tax, and I'm like, how did that happen? But yeah, I'm just like, I'm very confused by a lot of that. And like whoever came up with the nickname Coleslaw for Colby Jones and Slauson is like, that's just brilliant. Like, so I want to see those guys play a lot together and see how they look.
Just because you want to use the phrase coleslaw.
Because I think it's hilarious. Like Kings fans are undefeated when it comes to nicknames. Coleslaw is spectacular. Yeah.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
You talk about Alex O'Connell and Kobe Jones and Kessler Edwards. Is anybody on this summer league team outside of Queta, because we kind of know his situation, battling for a roster spot? Like, do you think there's a roster spot? Because we were trying to go through it the other day. Forgot about Duarte, and I think they were like 13 or 14. And I don't think when we did that, we had added Queta. So they're
we had Queta.
We had Queta on there?
Yeah,
so 13
we had
with Queta.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned Kessler Edwards either. Maybe we did. I don't know. But is there anybody that can take, if Kessler Edwards is in that 13, is there anybody that could take his spot, like a Kobe Jones or Alex O'Connell? Like, what are they doing with Alex O'Connell?
Yeah, someone brings up, Aldrin J brings up in the chat, Jordan Ford is the one guy. I don't think that Jordan Ford is going to get an NBA roster spot. But the Kings still have a two-way contract that's available. And I think a lot of guys might be vying for that. And a two-way contract's a big deal for these guys. Like a standard G League contract is around $70,000. A two-way is half of a rookie minimum. So it's $550,000. And you get to bounce back and forth between the G League and the parent club. So I think that there are a lot of guys who are fighting for that last spot. And there are some guys that I think are fighting for a training camp invite, because you got to remember that too has value. So the NBA roster for training camp invites goes all the way up to 20. They might expand it. I think I didn't look to see if they gave one more extra spot, because what we're looking at is your roster includes your 15 players and then your two-way players. So that puts you at 17. So normally you can bring in 3 guys for training camp. But see, what you can do with the training camp thing is you can give them bonus money to sign. So you can give a guy $100,000 to sign, and then he has that kind of money to stick around in the United States, as opposed to just making 70,000. He makes 70,000 on top of the 100,000 that he already made. So it's a way for you to build your whole entire system. So if I'm looking at the players again, I think Jordan Ford should at least be considered for a two-way, because I like the idea of the Kings having a backup point guard hiding at the G League level that they can actually access. Because it's one thing to have Trey Burke at the G League level, but if you can't access him without like releasing a player, then he's not really accessible, right? So if you have him on a two-way contract and you need somebody, you just pull him up. The Kings still have to figure out what they're going to do with PJ Dozier. I think he's still in the running for that third point guard. If PJ Dozier is, they have until the 10th, so they have 3 days to make the decision. If PJ Dozier makes the team or is given that contract, then the Kings are up to 14 roster spots. And so they realistically only have 1 roster spot. I could see them sitting at 14 for a lot of the season, because having an open roster spot is a good thing. I also could see them going in, paying PJ, and then like coming back to it later and revisiting it. They could also do something like waive PJ Dozier like tomorrow and then bring him back afterwards. And because his league minimum, it matters right now as part of your salary cap number. But if you waived him and then used your salary cap space and then came back to him, then he would be a minimum scale, and you're allowed to sign minimum scale players. So there's some interesting things that could happen there. But Like overall, I don't think there's anyone who like is potentially going to make the top 15 out of this group, unless it's Queta.
Hey, I meant to tell you, I saw Frankie Ferrari the other day.
Oh, did you?
I think it was Memphis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll be at Summer League, I'm sure.
Frankie Ferrari.
There he is. Okay, I'm with it. Hammer, I feel like you started to say something about Queta a minute ago and didn't. Do you think Queta's playing well? Like what is your evaluation of Queta through, the couple of games at the California Classic?
Well, in all honesty, I think he was the best center there. Like, I don't know that there was someone who truly outplayed him. Not that he went up against. Like, don't look at the points. Don't look at the rebounds. I mean, he's had, 4 blocks throughout the two games, and probably could have had more than that. The fouls were rough in game 1. He cleaned that up in game 2. I thought he had better energy in game 2. I thought he was impactful in game 2. But like, look at the way that he impacts the game. And you're not looking for Neemias Queta to go out there. If you're the Kings and you're looking for a third or a fourth like center to have on your roster, you're not looking for Domantas Sabonis. You're looking for a guy that can go out there and set screens, get rebounds, block shots, that can give you something different than Domantas Sabonis, and also might be able to run some of the plays that Domantas Sabonis runs. You're not looking for a 20-point per game guy. And so I think there is that people get so entranced with how many points he's scoring. Well, in order to score, your team has to actually pass. And the Kings at Summer League so far have not moved the ball well at all. They didn't pass at all. And so that's a problem. And it's going to be a bigger problem when Keegan Murray's not there. Like, how do you move the ball when your primary scorer, there's no one to double team. There's no one to take all the attention. So yeah, I'm not like super down on Queta. Like I know some people have been, and like, oh my gosh, he's looked horrible. It's Summer League. Like, give him a couple of games, give him Vegas. Let's see how he looks. If he earns his way onto the team, he earns his way onto the team. If he doesn't, it's understandable. If they keep pushing for him to take a 2-way contract and he says, no, I'm going to go take money somewhere else, then, that would be another deal that you'd have to sort of figure out. But for right now, like, I still think he should be part of the puzzle. It just, he's not a corner piece. You're trying to figure out where he does fit in, though.
And I don't think he's looked horrible, but I know for me personally, I expect more from him in his third year in Summer League. You know what I mean? That's really all it is. Like, I don't think
his third year in Summer League, but coming off of the G League campaign.
Yeah, the way he played in the G League as well. And like I said, I don't think he's a bad player at all. I just want a little bit of more of an impact consistently on this level. I know you can talk about like the screens he sets and stuff like that. To be honest with you, I feel like I need more than 9 rebounds from him. I mean, the guy, what was he probably averaging? Like 13?
27 minutes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say in the G League, like was he averaging 9 rebounds? If he was,
yeah.
But I feel like the G League is also a bit of a step up from what we're seeing in the summer. Like, I need this performance to be better because I've seen him do a better job on a bit of a higher level.
Well, just remember
though, Neemias at 8.7 rebounds last year.
Okay.
Yeah, but just keep in mind that like the G League, he was a major offensive cog, and at the California Classic, they had one major offensive cog, and then everybody else who kind of played off of that, and that was Keegan Murray. And I don't even think Keegan used a lot of the screens and stuff. I thought that what we saw from Jordan Ford, he knew how to use Neemias Queta the right way. And even Keon Ellis started to use Neemias Queta the right way, how they were used to using him. And once they started doing that, that's when the Kings kept opening up leads. And that's why I'll point to, sometimes I don't like plus minus as a category, but sometimes the eye test matches what you're seeing. Every time he stepped off the court, the Kings were not very good. The second he stepped on the court, they were back in the game. And that's how they built leads with him and with, of course, Keegan Murray going bonkers.
Are we evaluating Luke Laux at all? It feels like we're going to lose Jordy Fernandez here probably within the next year or so. Are we now watching the Summer League coaches like, it's probably the next guy we're going to lose right here?
I think we should.
Bobby. Bobby's in Philly now.
Yeah.
League team.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be looking at Luke Laux and like, I think he's just been spectacular. He's funny. He tells great stories.
Yeah, he
He's
wins. I think you use this phrase. He wins a press conference.
Yeah, that's for
Oh
sure.
man, he fully wins a press conference. Yeah, I mean, he's already got that feel that you get from Mike Brown. Like
Mhm.
there's a definite like NBA head coach there. And like I've given him like off behind the scenes, like, man, you were good. Like that was really, really good stuff to sit there and talk about the reason why Keegan Murray's there and what they've seen from Keegan Murray and why they have such high hopes for Keegan Murray, and to sort of build a little bit of, you know, the mystique of Keegan, because you're pushing it on him and saying, look, man, this is what we think you can be. You better be that. You can be that, and you need to find that, because right now we can talk about how good you are, but there's going to come a point where you're going to have to show it on the court, and we see it on the practice court, so we know you're that good. We're going to need to keep bolstering your confidence and make sure that you're ready to go take over, because there is going to be a moment where he's going to be the third or the second or the third option for this team, and it's coming pretty soon.
Real quick before we get out of here, what's another guy I wanted to ask you about is Keon Ellis. What do you think about him so far in 2 games? Has he done well? Is he disappointed? Does he need to pick it up? Like, what's your thoughts on Keon?
I'm not sure about the gray hair look. I thought that was like an odd choice, and that became like the major topic of discussion in his post game the other night. But I do like everything else about his game except for one thing. I thought in game 1 he would not stop chirping at the officials, and he kept getting fouls, and almost every single time he got a foul, I thought it was a clear foul, and he just kept complaining. I think he probably noticed that in the film when he came back for the next game, and he just focused on himself. I thought he was really good. I think he provides a lot. The Kings haven't really shot the ball that well. He needs to knock down the 3 balls. So does Kessler. I don't know. Kessler hasn't hit a 3 yet. He went 0 for 7 in the first game, I believe, and 0 for 1 in the second game. But like for this offense and stuff to work, they need to hit that 3. But I like him, and you know, I'm glad he's back on a 2-way. I think he has potential to maybe be a player in the NBA. And you know, Colby Jones is on the main roster. That's going to be a little bit of an impediment for him. But you know, I think Keon's got some skill.
I think Keon looked almost nervous to me in the first game. Maybe I don't know if nervous is the right. He was kind of looked like he was playing like he was trying to prove something instead of just playing. And you'd see him like, and you just mentioned this, James, like he made a lot of mistakes in the first game, just kind of silly ones that he didn't make in the second one. And I don't know like like his spot's solidified, right? Like he's a 2-way guy. That contract's signed. He's locked in for that. But I noticed really early in game 1, like, man, I feel like he's kind of
jittery, got too much energy.
Yeah,
like he didn't settle in. Yeah.
Like he wanted to be Keegan. Like he was going to go out there and I'm the guy here. Like, oh, all right, big fella. No, like he can do his work, but he he looked a little jittery.
I think that's the danger of summer league. It's a danger of evaluating talent at all at the summer league level. Even, you know, like to be fair to Jordan Ford, or a guy like you mentioned, Frankie Ferrari. Like those guys look great when they got the ball in the hands and guys are hitting shots and everything's fast and everything. But are they big enough, strong enough, fast enough to do that against NBA players? And then you look at other guys like Neemias, and the subtlety of his game is missed in summer league. And then you look at guys like Kessler, and it's like, look, man, if you can't hit that 3 ball, that's going to be a problem. Keon Ellis, if you can't hit that 3 ball, we need you to play defense. We need you to hit the 3 ball. Like, but where does this shot creation? How do they look when there is no Keegan Murray taking all the attention? And that's going to be different.
California Classic experiment with Keegan, you think a rousing success?
Spectacular. You just showed Keegan
you wanted out of that.
You showed Keegan he can score 41 in a game.
Yeah.
And that might be one of the biggest things you ever did, because once you show a player that they can go above 40, now that they know that 30 isn't the number, 40 is a number. And so then they strive from there. I think you showed him something special, and I thought it was a good thing they left him in the game to go get 40.
Great stuff, James, as always. Become a subscriber over at thekingsbeat.com. Become a premium subscriber over at thekingsbeat.com. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast, wherever you get podcasts from.